What's good, everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to another video. Today we're talking about the future of Metroid and how Metroid fans can just rest easy because Nintendo has came out and talked about the future of the franchise, especially after Dread has done what's going on. People are really looking at the sales. People are still anticipating Metroid Prime 4, so there's a lot to go over, but Sakamoto has came out and just kind of made things a bit easier when it comes to things. But before we get into that, please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell to get my videos first. Now, in a recent interview with CNET, Sakamoto, he actually talked about this and how there'll always be a future in terms of games for Samus as long as people love the character and people love the franchise. Here's what he had to say. Quote, "As long as the character Samus exists, I think her adventure will continue. I feel that Samus should continue her adventure, and that's something that we would really need to put our best effort into. Metroid Dread does conclude the 5-story arc that has been going on for 35 years. However, I feel that it's not the ultimate end. There should be something that is able to continue the franchise and the universe. So yes, as long as your character Samus is loved, I would like to do what I have to do." There's just like a few things that I want to say about this. One, you can tell his dedication to it. It's almost like a Masahiro Sakurai type of affinity and dedication to a singular franchise. Like when you think of Metroid, I think of Sakamoto. I think of the dude with the long hair and him talking about it and him just being involved since the beginning. So I always think of him, but he also puts himself into the same category. He is like lifeline or like lifelong intertwined with the Metroid franchise, and he always wants the best for the franchise. Have they always hit it out of the park? No, they haven't. But I think right now at this point, they are hitting it out of the park. Metroid Dread to me is the best Metroid game that I've played, best 2D Metroid game that I've played ever. And that's just my own personal opinion. But if you look at it from a scores wise, you look at it from a fan reception wise, that right there should give Nintendo the confidence. There's two things else that plays into this. One, how quality is the game, and two, the sales of the game. So far, we're looking at it sales wise, Metroid Dread is breaking sales records, franchise sales records, pretty much in every single area. We should get MPD sales numbers or positioning charts very soon here with Metroid Dread. I think it did good. It's also up on the eShop, so it's doing better and it's gotten more publicity than pretty much any other Metroid game probably since Metroid Prime came out on the GameCube in the early 2000s. So I'm okay with that. I think that's good. But also having the right developer, having the quality developer to make sure that they can keep this thing going. I think with Metroid, yes, as long as the character is loved, they can continue it, but they need the right person or people to continue making that. And with Mercury Steam, they're able to get a developer along with Nintendo and some of their people, Sakamoto and everybody. They were able to come together and make a game that was one of the highest rated games of the year and a fantastic experience from start to finish where people are still playing and enjoying. And I think 10 years from now, people will still go back and speed run Metroid Dread. People will still play this game even years down the line because it's that good of a speed running game and it's that great of an experience overall, but very little things wrong with it. So I do feel that this is just the start of something with it. Now, let's talk about Metroid Prime 4 a little bit too, and Metroid Prime Trilogy and kind of some of that stuff, because a lot of you guys have been asking me about that. So I wanted to make this into a Metroid discussion, Metroid video. Metroid Prime 4, which Sakamoto, I don't think he has too much involvement in it. That is Tanabe. So I feel that with Metroid Prime 4, and with what they're doing going forward with that, they've hired so much talent. They've got so many new people into the mix there. Retro Studios has a big new facility. They are doing things big with that game. But when could we see it, and what is going on with Metroid Prime Trilogy? Well, let's talk about that. So Metroid Prime Trilogy has been rumored now for quite some time. Now, the last thing that I heard about Metroid Prime Trilogy is that it was supposed to come out a while ago, but what threw a wrench or a power beam to all of the plans was the fact that Metroid Prime 4 had to scrap its development with Bandai Namco and restart it with Retro Studios, the developer who originally had the Metroid Prime franchise. So I think that was the main problem to where we didn't get Metroid Prime Trilogy sooner on the Wii. Some sources do peg it at it actually being complete and that was ready to go. But there are news sources, there are new things that are coming about with it. Could Nintendo have scrapped what they were going to do with Metroid Prime Trilogy, or even split it off into Metroid Prime 2 and 3 into some type of double pack or something, and make the original Metroid Prime as a remaster, a heavily, I would say, improved remaster or remake? That is some of the new information that is coming out there. So which one is it? Is it that they had a Metroid Prime trilogy ready to go but decided not to because of what happened, then retooled their plans for Metroid Prime to kind of introduce it with a modern angle and better graphics to take advantage of the Switch? That could be it. Now, Metroid Prime and all of those Metroid Prime games, to be honest, those core 3 Metroid Prime games play extremely well. So I wouldn't be surprised either way if they decided to just say, hey, let's just make Metroid Prime. Let's just start off with that one. Let's remaster it very well. Let's put it out there. We can make this game look impressive because it still looks good. Even on the GameCube, you play it on there, it still looks really good. So will they take that route, or they just say, hey, let's just put these 3 games out there? I think it's going to be interesting to see what they do ultimately. I feel that if you remaster Metroid Prime and put some big effort and time into it, that would get people really excited to kind of jump back into Metroid Prime and the trilogy and the games, and Metroid Prime 4 would be a good lead up for Metroid Prime 4. So that is definitely a possibility with it, but we're just going to have to wait and see exactly what they want to do and navigate with it. Now, we do have the Game Awards coming up pretty soon here, and Nintendo has always been known to roll up with something big at the Game Awards in one of their storied or one of their core franchises, right? We've seen it with Super Smash Brothers and Joker being announced. We've seen it with The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and the DLC being dropped that night with the Game of the Year and everything. So that was awesome with The Legend of Zelda. We've seen it with Bayonetta. Remember, guys, Bayonetta 1, Bayonetta 2, and Bayonetta 3 all announced for the Nintendo Switch at the Game Awards. So it is very possible, very possible that Nintendo does announce a Metroid some type of thing. A Metroid Prime remake, a Metroid Prime remaster, Metroid Prime trilogy, and the first footage or the first gameplay of Metroid Prime 4, the first trailer. That could be it. And I think that would be a huge just wake-up call to everyone, wake-up call to the industry, that not only is Samus back with Dread, but now you're back with a modern-looking 3D type of game on this piece of hardware with the Nintendo Switch. So I'm hoping that that's what they do, and I think that would make a huge splash, because Nintendo's not going to have any more Nintendo Directs for this year. They're done with Directs. They had their big fall Direct that was successful. People liked it. It was great and everything, but they usually don't have another Direct until early in the year. So like that early spring Direct, something like that. Sometimes they'll have like a mini in January. I know they did that, I think, back in like 2018. So sometimes they do have stuff like that, but for the most part, you know, they'll wait till the spring to really get something going again. Now, it could be there. It could be at that one, or they could even wait till E3, right? Because remember, Metroid Prime 4 was originally announced at E3 2017. You know, with that original one. So they could kind of wait and want to make that splash at E3. So there's just multiple different kind of areas that they can go into. But I'm excited in terms of what Sakamoto had to say here. I think that this secures the Metroid franchise going in the future. I think they found the 2 developers that they need to continue their split series of the 2D Metroid with Mercury Steam and also the 3D Metroid with Retro Studios. But we still need to wait and see what Metroid Prime 4 is going to be. But this type of game development isn't easy. I can guarantee you that Metroid Prime 4's development, even with Retro Studios, a company that has had the Metroid franchise, right, that has done it before, a lot of the people left. A lot of people who made the original Metroid Prime trilogy have left. They've gotten new pieces in there. They still need to kind of mend and kind of do things in terms of working together and making sure that they can put together this type of game. Tanabe's probably almost pulling his hair out with stuff that's going there, trying to piece together everything and having telecommunications. They've had to work through COVID as well. So I think that there's a lot of factors that kind of go into this and what's going on with Metroid Prime 4. But rest assured, I think that when we finally do see Metroid Prime 4, it is going to be a very good sight. I think think it's going to be a very good game. And recently, I've been looking at the games that have been just like delayed for forever, or were announced early and have just taken a long time to come out. Bayonetta 3, right, for example. Also, Shin Megami Tensei 5, for example. And now that we've seen these games, they look fantastic. They play fantastic for the most part on the Switch, or they're going to play fantastic in Bayonetta 3's case. So I think that that's going to happen with Metroid Prime. It's been a while. You know, it's been quite some time, but when it finally does come out, it's going to be a sight to behold, and fans are going to be happy with the product out there. So those are my thoughts when it comes to Metroid and the future and what is going on. What do you guys think about this? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and we will see you for the next video. Peace.